Hello there, it's Mark from Snooker Crazy. I've received a request to ask how you can remove lacquer from a cue. Some of the cues that you get from Asia come with masses of lacquer, and this is a cue from probably about the 1980s from this country, also loaded with lacquer. Now there's two ways you can do it. You can do it with sandpaper, which is the way I normally do it because you get a little bit more of a finer touch. I work my way up generally from an 80 grit just to see how much lacquer's on there. Might go up to a 120 or a 240 just to get it off, and then I work my way through the grades up to probably around about a 1200, I would think, depending on the cue and the type of woods on it. For the purpose of this video, this is an old pool cue that I'm doing up for a youth club really, so it's a good one to test. There's two things we're going to look at: is how the lacquer comes off with a scraper, and we're going to be a bit aggressive with it, and also how much it reduces the diameter. So first things first, let's see how thick this is. So we're looking at around about 10.6, because you think with a scraper it should take a lot more off, and we obviously don't want to reduce the tip end if we can too much. And for the butt end we are looking at 29.8. So, for those that are worried that if we're scraping we'll be taking lots of wood off, it's a good way just to see whether it does or it doesn't. But there's a fair bit of lacquer on this, really loaded at the butt end, and a little bit thinner down this end. I would probably suggest that as you get to about there, I would think someone's probably started to sand that a little bit as it's gone over the years. So say I know this particular one because I was around when it was put in the club, so it's probably about 35, 37 years old. Hell of a state, so good one to try. The video might cut off as we go through a few different sections, but we'll see how that goes. So let's give it a go. Now, standard scraper, there are quite a few different types. As you can see, there's not a lot to it. It works by a little burr that sits over the edge and you just scrape it along. There's many like circular ones that people would probably suggest you use for a cue, but we'll use this one because I like the feel of it. So I'll just get you in a bit closer and then we'll see how that goes. Now what I suggest you do is make sure that when you get to the tip end on your cue that you protect it and you're really careful. Now a piece of masking tape might protect your tip a little bit, and I suggest if you're going to do this you'd be looking at a new tip anyway, but just be really careful around that ferrule area. And all I'm going to do is just scrape it along. Don't go mad at it. Let's just do this over the edge. You might be able to see a bit. So you can fast forward the video as you like. As you can see, there's very little coming off. I don't know if you can see that or not. I have to see when it comes out in the video. As I'm spinning it, you'll see it go lighter and darker. As I say, we'll have to see how this comes out in the video. As I say, I'm taking very small amounts off. So I'll carry on until I'm quite happy with that. Pretty much done the end of that, and you can just about feel the lines, barely, because I haven't gone really deeply at it. So again, just keep it nice and smooth. If you're not sure how far you've gone and you think you're going over the same bit twice, I suggest you put a pencil mark around it, and that way you can see as you take the pencil off. So even if you draw on the lacquer, doesn't really matter how much you are if you really wanted to do that. And then once that pencil comes off, you know that you're about right. So if you drew, you could even draw a line all the way around. So as you get round, you can see that the line's disappeared. As you obviously want to do this as even as you can. So we'll work our way through the cue, making sure that when you're doing it, you're not got any other apparatus on the table that might damage the cue. And lacquer being lacquer, it could be sprayed, but it might not be on there as even as you can. So you might find that as you go around, and you're doing a nice light scrape on there, you might have to go back on some bits slightly. So try not to take too much off. That's the whole thing, is little and often. As you're doing this, be careful. A lot of people bang it go, and you put little dents in there. So you really want to come at an angle, and that way the burr gets a good chance just to scrape the minimum amount off. Alright, come up to the thicker parts now. Should be able to show you this, and you'll be able to see the difference quite clearly there. Now, again, we'll see what comes out in the video, but straight away that's taken all of the lacquer off to there, and then you can see it back to there. Now if you were sandpapering that would take a while. Now I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people look at this video and say you cannot do that with a cue, you should be sandpapering it. I've done this a fair amount of times. I'm actually taking a minute piece off. So whether you're actually taking more than sandpaper, we'll see, but I doubt it if I'm honest, because I'm barely taking anything bar the lacquer there, which I haven't done lots with sandpaper. It's very difficult to not take too much off unless you just go through the grades, but it gives you an idea anyway. I mean, you can make your own choices of whether you want to do that or not. I'll say some of the cues coming from Asia can be a bit of a pain when they really do lacquer it. One thing I would try and make your mind up with, when you get to the butt section of a cue that comes from abroad, you may find, if you're not sure, that the actual butt is not ebony or not the woods that you think it is. This is not I'm not trying to knock the cues, because they're perfectly okay, but very difficult if you start to scrape plastic to get it back to exactly where you need to do that. So some people, if you know it's to be plastic or a man-made substance or an Ebonex, as Peridot use it on their laser cue, take it above there if that's the case and you're really not sure, and then you can taper it in. But you can maybe taper it on that bit and just take it to there, and you can just blend it in. It's up to you, but if you've got your pride and joy and it's worth a few bob and you don't want to get it wrong, then maybe just do the top section. Seems quite common abroad to do that, but just be careful on what the butt's made of. Right, let's carry on. To the heavier section. Hear a different tone coming off of it. Obviously when we get to the harder woods, Again, you should be able to see the difference from there. It's a massive amount of lacquer I'm taking off, and it's just coming off really easily. So nice long strokes, gently going on, pushing away from the shelf. You might not have a jig like this, but to be fair, even if you hold it nice and evenly, slightly turn as you go, checking that it's all gone. Make sure you haven't got any obstacles around you, so you go and dent your cue shaft. Keep it away from your fingers because it's still sharp. And just move away. It's pretty easy to do. When you get to the ends, it's quite awkward. This has got a bit of rubber on the end, which I'll generally take off. But even if you're just like this, but don't push and get it over, because you will dent. So it's a case of going with the grain, and it will come off. When it's pretty much there, have a good look around. You'll find there'll be a few little streaks that you managed to miss. Just catch up with those. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, that shows you how to get it off. Something else to mention would be, again, see there's a badge in there. If you've got a standard type badge without acrylic on the top, you have to be really careful with that, because if you scratch it, you've got that for good. So either sand that bit, but make sure you protect it. What I generally do is I put my finger up to it, so you can actually go away from the badge. So if you're hitting your finger, you're close to the badge, and then you just be really careful as you do it. You can do that and scrape away, up to you really, or even if you just, I wouldn't put something over it like masking tape, because it'll actually just go through that. Now if you've got acrylic, what you can do is you just treat this as wood really. If you go up to something like 1000 grit after working your way through, it will actually shine up again, and it will go like glass. So as long as you've got a decent one. But hopefully that gives you a better idea. Right, now rather than stop the video there, let's take some sandpaper. Let's have something like a 180, just so there's nothing on there now, but just to quickly test a bit. Now that's going to take a fair bit of wood off if you do that. Now what I would say is if you've got lacquer off, go to a 600. If you can see that, you can see a fair bit coming off of it. So I go to a 600, you've got nothing on there, you can see the dust coming. So 600 is much better than that. You don't need anything too much less. So let's take a bit of that. And normally I just stick a sanding block on there, we put that in a jig and go through it. But for the purpose of just this one cue, just do this by hand. Again, watch out for your tip. So generally you'd have a sanding block for this, which saves you taking out all the softer bits in between if it's ash. If you find it's not taking it down as you like, then go up or down a grade. Yeah, not totally happy with that one, it's quite hard. So I'll go with a 240 then. Now that's bare wood you're taking now, so that's why you want to go with the least amount you can, so the higher grade. That's better. So remember that it's your wood that you're taking off there, so keep that as high as you can. Yeah. And generally I'd have a dust mask on now. What I suggest you do, otherwise you'll be breathing all this in, but just carry on talking on the video and we'll do this. Right. Back up to 600. So we're a little bit rough and ready just to keep this video going. It'll take a lot longer over this and be a lot carefuler. Let's put this out now. Right. And twisting and just going with the grain. It's getting older. Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Right. And jump to a bit of 1200. So don't come in with the comments about you do it slightly different with the sandpaper, because I probably would do, but we're still getting a decent effect from it. Yeah, that's good. And that's very smooth. And you can see how long that's taken. So it would take a lot longer over it normally, but for the video, definitely do that much. Just get a little bit of white spirit. Right, now hopefully this will give you just a better idea of it just changing colour, so you get an idea that it's not scratched to pieces, and you've even got some mother of pearl in there. So if you're going to do one that's a bit of a pain, I guess this will be it. There you go, and if you can see the the badge just about. I'll probably give that another go with probably a bit of 2000 for me until that comes out, but we've actually had, I think it was 120 grit on that, so that's not bad. There you go. So, got a pretty good idea. If you've got any questions, let me know. But there you go, ready for oiling. See you on the next video.